just tried to start this episode a couple of times and I had to stop because the bit that I was trying to do was so unfunny and I couldn't understand why it wasn't working. The bit in question was me starting the episode saying, guys, I just sat down and tried to record this episode, but I was wearing a shirt. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, why am I wearing business casual to the podcast recording? So then I went up and I changed my shirt into a hoodie. Did these things happen? Yeah. Did I need to try and make a joke about it? No. Am I sitting here in a hoodie right now? Yes. And that's the start of the episode. Welcome back to Self-Interrupted with Kit Costello. I am Kit Costello. Today we're doing an advice session. If you're new to Self-Interrupted, you may not know that I tend to do episodes where I just give you advice. And this advice session is a little different because it's specific to a category of submissions that I've received, which is all about romance, love, breakups, and sex. And I'm really excited because I've missed doing these episodes, to be honest. Since I've been doing the interrupt me's each episode at the end of the episodes, I've really been yearning to do a full episode where I just give you guys advice. So I'm excited to get into that. But before we get into giving out the advice, of course, we need to get into the catch up of the week. So let's get into it. Major announcements. Tea with Sugar is back in a big way. We need to talk about it. Me and T, we're now like this. If you're not watching the video episode, I'm currently crossing my fingers. T, that's my family. Truly. Specifically with Sugar. And I won't hear any of it. I don't want to hear about, you shouldn't be having, I'm having the sugar. Don't piss me off. Sometimes I'll have tea without sugar and it does feel nice. It feels good and it feels warming. When I have tea with sugar, it does feel like a little bit of a treat. It feels like a dessert. And specifically tea with sugar is back in a big way. I haven't really been indulging too much with oat milk within the past, I would say, year to 6 months, I would say. But recently, the oat milk has been coming out. I only have been buying oat milk for porridge, which I hate to say it, porridge is out in a big way. Porridge and I, we had a great relationship. We were very, very close for a very, very long number of months, I would say. But sometimes you just have too much of what you love and you have to let it go. Wow. But I will say, I do sometimes fantasize about having my dark chocolate porridge with the sea salt on top. That got me together. On a day that I felt sad, I would honestly, I'd have porridge for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if I could. And I probably have in the past. I remember my friend used to make savory porridge where she would put like tofu, kimchi, spring onions in it with miso. Special. I've never had it, but I trust her opinion and she said it was good. So, but porridge is out, tea is in. Next major announcement is Claro bangs are coming really soon, guys. Please be prepared. I don't know what's going on with the hairdressers in London, but no one wants to give me bangs. Maybe it's the universe doing something to me, but I want thick bangs. I want a thick baby bang. I want people to turn around and be like, damn, did she mean to do that? Was that accidental? Is she embarrassed with her haircut right now? I want to make a scene in my own mind. You know, I want myself to be conflicted. Do I like these? Do I not? But instead, you know, the bangs that I've had in the past, though they're gorgeous, they're a French wispy. You know, and I just don't feel like my opinion's being appreciated. I want a big, thick, fat baby bang. You know, I want the Claro effect. Truly. And I believe it's coming soon for me. Possibly by next episode, I will have Claro baby bangs. And you just need to be prepared for that because it will be, you know, national. It'll be nationally, my bangs will be nationally acclaimed. Up next, I'm reading a new book called The Wall, not to be confused with Hit the Wall by Gracie Abrams. I'm loving this book so far. I am only 30 pages in, but I'm caveating that by the fact that I have recently read a book. Though it was 80 pages, I read it in one sitting, and I will be holding on to that probably for the rest of the year if we're being honest with ourselves. Because the fact that I read a book in one sitting while I was working my job on the farm, where's my round of applause? Truly. But yeah, The Wall is really good. It's a book. I'll read the blurb to you. I have it right here. A woman takes a holiday in the Austrian mountains, spending a few days with her cousin and his wife in their hunting lodge. When the couple failed to return from a walk, the woman sets off to look for them, but her journey reaches a sinister and inexplainable dead end. She discovers only a transparent wall behind which there seems to be no life. Trapped alone behind the mysterious wall, she begins the work of survival. I'm really enjoying it so far, and it is quite a haunting book. Again, I'm not reading enough of it, and it is kind of annoying me. I feel as though, if I'm being honest, I'm getting really tired of my brain. I don't know. I'm just so tired of social media. Can I be real? Someone kicked me into... I am in the countryside. I was about to be like, someone kicked me into the countryside and take my phone away. Step one done. You're in the countryside. Now someone just take my phone away. I do long for this idea of being analog, but I think it's just so romanticized online. And I'm like, there's some kind of irony with people gushing about how analog they are online. I'm like, wait, something's not adding up here, because if you're so analog, why am I hearing about it? Question for culture. Answer it. I think that there's a status symbol with being analog nowadays. And I think it's really interesting. It's interesting how the trends kind of depict, status. Because, it's kind of cool to be offline now. And the reason for that is I think there's in a way, there's some kind of I don't know. This is a whole episode in and of itself, but basically I'm on my phone too much and it's really frustrating me. I have got a brick and it is working, but I'm like, I need something more. I need to hit my phone with a brick so that it stops me going on it. Okay, catch up with the week time. I went to the V&A. The V&A is a museum in London. I went to see the Schiaparelli exhibition with my friend Hanifa, and it was beautiful. First of all, I need to give all of the flowers to South Kensington Tube Station. For those that live in other countries, South Kensington Tube Station has a tunnel going under it that leads straight to the V&A. You don't even have to go above ground, you just walk underground, and then all of a sudden you enter the V&A museum from underground. I felt like a little mouse. I couldn't believe it. I was walking along and I was like, there's no way it's just going to bring me in. All of a sudden I was in 1300s Britain with all of these artifacts around me. I couldn't believe it. I then met up with Hanifa and we went into the Schiaparelli exhibition, and it was really, really gorgeous. I mean, all of the pieces are just so show-stopping. Some of the older stuff, I'd be lying if I said that I cared that much, just because it was very... it was very plain. It wasn't plain, it was plain with a twist, but the twist wasn't as extravagant as the twists are nowadays, so I think my mind just was a little bit numb to that. But I appreciated the hard work, and also the fact that she was she was the one that created Schiaparelli, and what it's become today is really because of her. And it was really, really interesting. There were so many looks there that I recognized, and it was really inspiring, to be honest, especially to see the garments up close and all of the hard work and effort that must have gone into them. But to be totally frank with you, I was looking forward to Hanifa and I's debrief in a gallery museum. Hanifa and I have been known to queen out in a museum once or twice. We went to the National Portrait Gallery once, and we were there for an exhibition, and we ended up walking around the entire gallery twice, and we were there for 6 hours, and then we went into the cafe. We will just we'll walk, we will walk whether we're in a museum or not. It was really special that time that we were in that National Portrait Museum because it was so empty, and it was also a weekend, which was bizarre because galleries in London are always so filled, but this gallery was very empty and we were just walking around like it was night in the museum. Anyway, we went to the V&A cafe, we were sitting there, and then we were kicked out because the V&A closed at 5. I couldn't believe it. I was like, guys, what happened to night in the museum too? We really wanted the second experience of this. Anyway, we got kicked out of the V&A, so then we had to find another place to go and eat, and we found ourselves in a tourist trap of this cafe which a lot of tourists seem to be going in, and we sat outside and we were under this little veranda, and then it started torrential raining In the UK recently, it's just been like torrential raining for like 5 minutes and then it stops and it's sunny, which I kind of loved. And we were sitting outside and it was just raining tons, but we were under a cover. And it felt so, I looked at her and I said, okay, we're in Paris. Like, this is so Paris vibes. Anyway, oh, we walked around Hyde Park. We went around Hyde Park. There were pigeons. It was kind of, what? These pigeons had sex and then the male just like dipped. It was shocking. I was like, girl, I've been there. This pigeon fully beat and delete in front of us and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was disgusting. I was so mad for the female pigeon. Up next on my notes, I just have taken back by the views because I was in Hyde Park, and I would say Hyde Park is one of our most prestigious parks in London. Up there with Regent's, I would say, and Victoria. Oh, and Richmond. Oh, maybe it's not one of the most prestigious. I think that those girls are really the top three. Anyway, Hyde Park, really beautiful. And I forget how beautiful she is because we were going on this walk and I was like, this really is so stunning because the sun was setting. I was taking photos. I was sending them to my other friends as well. And we were just, it felt like, it was just like wildlife, you know, we were just standing around, all these birds were around us. I said, oh my God, people were feeding I was like, okay, we'll draw the line there. Feeding the animals, I don't know, maybe it's a good thing to feed the animals, but someone was feeding a squirrel out of its mouth. And I said, okay. A major thing happened this week and I need to tell you about it. I was invited to an influencer, and I don't really go to a lot of influencer events, the fashion events. I don't really tend to show my face. Frankly, these events, I feel it's a bit snobby, I'll be honest. Like, I go to these events and I just feel a little bit out of place. Not to say that I'm not snobby, I'm sure I am. But when I go to these events, I feel out of place because I feel as though I'm just a bit too aware that I'm at an influencer event and it's like there's a photographer going around and then there's like an interviewer and then there's all of these influencers that I know, but for some reason no one says that they know each other. So you just kind of stand there. And I went to this event, and the only reason I went is because Zara Larsson was performing. Oh my God. When that came through on my inbox, I literally could not believe my eyes. It was the quickest yes. It was with UGG and Zara Larsson. Shout out to UGG for inviting me. I really appreciate it. It was one of those things where I'd like agreed to it, but I wasn't 100% sure. As you guys know, if you listened to last week's episode, I've kind of been going through it mentally. And for me to go to an event by myself during this kind of like state of mental health that I'm in right now, I just was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to, even though I really want to. The concept of even seeing my friends sometimes is like too much, just for my like head. Like the concept of leaving my house sometimes is a bit intense at the moment. But I mustered it all up. I mustered up the courage and I said, I've got to go because this is literally once in a lifetime. And it was such an intimate event that I just know she's probably not going to be doing stuff like this, you know, in the future because she's getting even bigger now. I digress. It gets to Friday, which is when the event is, and I'm still toing and froing. I'll be honest. I'm in bed. I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to go. I'm trying to really like push myself. And it gets to about 5 and my train is leaving at 6:50 and I'm still in bed at 5 and I'm thinking probably not going to go. And then I really pushed myself because I know deep down that a lot of the time when I'm in those kind of phases where I'm in my bed and I'm rotting a bit, sometimes, I don't know if romanticize is the right word, but I kind of fixate myself in this box of thinking, well, this is all I'm going to do today. And I kind of make the storyline up in my head before I even let myself read the story. It's like, well, no, you can create the story that you want. You're choosing right now to stay in bed. Though it's going to be hard for you to get up, that is an option. You know, just because it's the harder one doesn't mean it's not one. With that, I got up, I had a little shower, I came back into my room, I did my hair, all while playing Zara Larsson music. I was putting my makeup on, I felt hotter, I put on a nice outfit, I felt the hottest. Though there were like, you know, there were moments where I was thinking I'd maybe rather stay in bed right now, I'm not 100%. I got outside, My train was in 10 minutes. I had to get the hot selfie for the Instagram story. Of course, got to get those story likes. And I got on the train and I made my way to the UGG event. It was held in Shoreditch, which is East London. And it was in some big ass warehouse, like truly massive. And I start walking towards the event. And sometimes going to these like fashion events, it's either like very queer coded and it's like a lot of queer creators and the girls, or it's like fashion bros. And I pulled up to the event and unfortunately I did see a fashion bro. And it's no hate to the fashion bros at all. I just find myself getting along easier with the queers and the women rather than like a bunch of fashion bros that maybe are just there to get drunk. I don't know. So I pull up to the event. I'm by myself. Need to emphasize that. I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest. As soon as I see the fashion bros, I'm like, oh, damn. I don't know if this is really going to be my space, to be honest. And then I sign in. I say, hey, like, I'm Kit Costello, because they asked for my name. I'm not just like going around being like, hi, I'm Kit Costello, you know me. But I say my name. And then the girl next to the person that's checking me in is like, oh my God, I followed you the other day on TikTok. And I was like, no way. So it was a nice little omen for the rest of the night. So I walked in, overwhelmed by all of the sensory stuff that was going on. There was like a DJ playing house music. There was just fabric draping from the ceiling. It was like amazing there. It was massive. And we were going through all of these different like places that they had like all of these different stations. They were like craft stations. And I was so confused at the setup of this event because there was someone playing house and techno music on this stage. But then there were like all these people doing like printing crafts. I was like, I don't know if this is really the vibe, but sure. Anyway, I did a little lap of the downstairs area, trying to see if I could notice or recognize anyone that I could talk to. And there were a couple of people, but like I felt kind of awkward because they were in conversation. So I didn't want to butt in and be like, hey, it's me. Of course you like remember me. So I just decided to not say anything and I kept to myself. And then I went upstairs and there was like a lot of bustle around the bar. So I went up to the bar and I kind of like waited for about 15 minutes to get a drink. And the whole time I'm just kind of standing there. I just feel awkward. But equally, I only feel awkward because I feel as though people are looking at me being like, oh, she's by herself. Otherwise, I'm kind of fine being alone. I love being alone at events because I just get to people watch. I love people watching, guys. Bring it back. Don't know if it was ever gone, but I love people watching. I wait my turn. I get my drink. It's an Aperol Spritz. Shout out Aperol Spritz. They were also sponsoring the event. So I get my Aperol Spritz and I start sipping it. I haven't drunk anything since February, by the way. So this Aperol Spritz, this singular Aperol Spritz, I should emphasize, carried me through the entire night. I digress. I'm drinking this Aperol Spritz through a straw. Eventually, I meet up with a couple people that are with my management, and it's very sweet. It's very easy to get on with them, which is very nice. And we make our way downstairs, and there's a tiny little stage, like truly, like it's a platform on the floor. And we're thinking, I'm sure Zara Larsson's going to perform on this little platform, so let's stand at the front now. So we're standing at the front of this platform. Mind you, I'd say there's maybe 200 influencers here, maybe less than. It's a very small, intimate event. We're standing at the front and I do a bit of like content for other creators and we're talking to these girls. And it's funny because I'd seen these girls at the beginning of the event and they were just drop dead, like so gorgeous. And I was kind of nervous to like speak to them because the person that was on my management introduced me to them and I was like, oh God, they're so cool. But they were so nice. They were so normal and they were so easy to talk to. And I was like, thank God. They were just taking the piss out of themselves the whole time because they had like tried to learn the Lush Life dance just in case Zara asked them to go up with them. Amazing. So fab. And eventually a lot more people were starting to get into the crowd around the stage. And then it was time for Zara to come on. And you guys, when I tell you Zara Larsson was maybe a meter in front of me, performing Midnight Sun, Blue Moon, and Lush Life. I couldn't believe it. Like, truly, when she came on stage, all of the thoughts that were in my mind, and I'm not even kidding saying this, the thoughts that were in my mind from the day of me like being in bed, not being able to get up, feeling really crap about myself, they vanished. Like, I recorded a lot of that, and I'm not someone that records a lot when I'm at a concert. I like to be in the moment. But for this, I just had to. I have a new phone. I have the iPhone 17. So you do like the dual feature where you can record the front and the back of the phone. Girl, I queened out with that feature. You know I did. I had it recording me. I had it recording Zara. Zara came on stage. I was winking at her. She was looking at me like directly into my eyes. The dancers were looking at me in my eyes. I was so overwhelmed, and I just felt my body like truly just overtake me. It was like I was screaming like, "Yes, Zara, you better work." Like I was like, "Oh, everything's actually going to be okay." Zara performs. It's truly amazing. She did her 3 numbers and she dipped. Like she took the money and ran as she should. There was an interesting thing that had happened that night though. It's happened to me a couple of times at these kind of events. I had seen someone that I had recognized. He had introduced me to a couple of his friends. And after he'd introduced me to his friends, okay, no. So basically, before Zara performed, this person had come up to me. We said hi, hello. And then his friends kind of took him away from me. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Love that. After Zara performed, I went up to these people again. And I was like, hey, like, oh my gosh, it was such a great time, right? This guy was like, yeah, it was amazing. Like, she's so good. Da, 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 da. And it's the group of like a few of us. And this person just turns around, looks at his friend, and completely exiles me from the conversation. And I was just like, guys, where's the camaraderie? Like, where is the sense of community? And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it was very clear that I was by myself. And it was very clear that like I wanted to be with them. And I don't think I'm like hard to get on with, really. I don't think that it's difficult to involve me in conversation. It just felt so pointed that this person fully rotated their body and then continued to have like inside jokes with these 3 people. And they don't owe me a conversation, but girl, it's an event. Like part of it is seeing people that maybe you haven't seen in a while, talking with them, introducing them to your friends, etc. And it just felt so, I don't know, it felt so like childish. I didn't even necessarily feel disrespected because I just kind of walked away, to be honest. They stopped speaking to me and then they were just talking and I was like, well, what else can I do? So I just walked away. And then I found myself just like walking around. Mind you, I'm still on the high of like literally winking at Zara Larsson. So I'm kind of walking around. I see a couple of like people that I do recognize and I do a little lap, I do a number, and then it's time for me to leave. And originally I did put this on my close friends story. I was like, I'm going to this event and if I hate it, I can get an Uber home and listen to sad music. I didn't hate it, so I got the train home. It was about 10:30 and I was in Shoreditch walking to the station and it felt, there are times where it just feels so London. I can't explain it. It just is what it is. There are some times that just feel so London. I was walking through London and it was dark and there were people, it was a Friday night, so there were people in Shoreditch kind of like doing their little thing. They were going to nightclubs, etc. Not my vibe, but good for you. And then there were like trains passing and it really just felt so London. It felt like, oh, I'm in London right now. Do you know what I mean? I know that sounds so stupid because, yeah, of course you're in London, but sometimes you're in London and you're like, okay, this doesn't really feel like I'm here for work. I felt like I was there just for pleasure. And I was walking down these streets, these empty streets, and I was just singing Zara Larsson because I don't want to have my earphones in because, you know, safety first when it's dark, etc. and you're by yourself. But if I couldn't have my earphones in, I was going to sing. So I was singing Midnight Sun. I got on the train. Then had my earphones in and then it was time to listen to Gracie Abrams' Hit the Wall, which had just come out that day because I needed to decompress. And that was a nice decompressing song for me. But all in all, it was truly amazing. I also forgot to mention that I had a tangerine that I'd packed in my bag because I knew that I would want a sweet treat. But sometimes a little like sweet treat that you bring from home is better than anything that you can buy at a shop because there's beauty in your past self packing something for your future self. Oh, I packed this for you. I dream of a day where someone packs me a banana and writes on it for me. I'm hoping that if I have a partner in the future, they will like do that, just like shove it in my handbag one day and then I'm like out in London and it's a little banana that says I love you. I think that would be so sweet. That's my catch up of the week. Absolutely mad that I saw Zara Larsson. Like, so insane. It was amazing and I loved it. So that's the catch up of the week. Let's get into giving out some advice. The first submission reads, I'm going on my first date this upcoming weekend. My first date ever. Do you remember your first date? What advice would you give to yourself when you went on your first date? P.S. What would you recommend I bring? My first date ever, I was so nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I think my first date wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was literally just like this time last year, to be honest. I do remember I felt as though I was really pestering the guy that eventually took me on my first date to take me on my first date. Looking back, I don't necessarily know if he wanted to date me, which I think is a bit of an ego hit now looking back. Yeah, it was a case of like the plans kept falling through. I kept trying to rearrange them, and eventually he was just like, if I'm not too tired, we can go out for a pint. And I was like, yes. It's like, oh my God, this is a bit like love. Yes. And to be frank, like when I was going on my first date back then, I was pretty naive. Like I really believed in, not to be cynical, I believed in love. Now, I still believe in love, of course, it's out there and it will be, but I'm a little bit more pessimistic about dating now, I think, and I don't necessarily go into every date thinking he's going to be the one. Whereas I think when I first started dating, it kind of felt like, well, why wouldn't he be the one? And I think that there's naivety in that. But I think also with dating, you have to just let it be. You can't kind of try and expect and determine what it's going to be or how it's going to play out. You really just have to lean into what it is. That would be my advice for like my first date. Like if I could give myself advice back then, I mean, it would be to not date that person, or if I was to date them, to really make them make an effort, you know, like you deserve someone that's going to treat you well. And it's not even about, you know, taking me to the fanciest restaurant or spending tons of money on me, because that to me honestly does not matter. I don't care. It doesn't impress me. What impresses me is effort. I think it's so romantic when someone puts effort in to dating you. You know, if they're saying like, hey, I want to take you out to this place, I find it attractive. I think it's also when you are starting to date for the first time, you have to understand what you find attractive and unattractive. If you're like craving someone's attention, if you're craving them to like plan a date for you and you're kind of getting frustrated, because this was me when I was first dating. It was a case of me like feeling as though this person didn't really want to date me, but I was really pushing for it. And I kind of felt like, okay, well, maybe there's something wrong with me and maybe I need to kind of back off a bit. But the truth is, it's just like, now I look back and I'm like, that's unattractive. That's all it is. Case in point, it's just an unattractive feature that they have. It's not to do with me. I'm just not attracted to this part of them. Do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes you try and blame yourself for how someone else is acting. And it's understanding that you're at the beginning stages of dating. And if they're treating you in a way that you don't want to be treated, this is the period of time where they're meant to be impressing you. And if they're not impressing you, then, you know, look inward. I think my advice to the younger version of myself that was going on that first date would be to understand your worth, understand your hot, and don't be so nervous. Like, I remember I had just come from a laser hair removal appointment, and he like randomly was like, okay, I can go on a date now. Like, do you want to go on a date? Let's go for pints at this pub. And I was like, oh my God, okay, well, he wants to go on this date, and I don't really feel my best, but I guess I can go. Like, I don't know if he'd be able to go another time, so let's just go now. And I remember I like went to a Superdrug and I bought new concealer and new blush, and I put it on in this like bathroom of a cafe. Though, you know, I look back and it's like fond memories, because, you know, you're kind of younger and you're naive and you're putting in all this effort and it's kind of spontaneous. I do look back and I'm like, look at all the effort you put in, and he showed up just after work because he could. You know, I was putting in all of this effort and he wasn't putting in any. And I think it's so gorgeous when someone is putting in effort. Like I said, it doesn't have to be everything, but even if it's, you know, saying, hey, I really love this park. This park I love, I'd love to take you here and show you my favorite areas while we walk around with a coffee. Love. So that's the advice that I would give myself when I went on a first date. What you should bring on a first date, I would bring a hairbrush. I would bring roll-on deodorant. I would bring gum. I would bring lip balm / lip gloss. What else would I bring? I like to, you know what I love to bring on a date? And this is my like top tip for dating. My favorite thing to do is bring something in my bag that's edible. For example, chocolate. I love bringing chocolate on a date because after, for example, let's set the scene. You've been to the pub, you've had a few pints, now you're sitting next to this person, and maybe you're like, you know, you want to break the touch barrier a bit. So you make them come next to you and you give them chocolate out of your bag. It's kind of whimsical of you. It's kind of endearing. You bring around chocolate. Oh my God, what else does she have in her bag? They're thanking you. They tap you on the shoulder. Thank you so much for this. Touch barrier broken. You're making out all night. Kidding. But like, truly, I think bringing like a bit of chocolate or sweets in your bag, though it sounds, now I'm saying it, somewhat grandma-esque, I think it's quite nice to bring a bit of chocolate on your date. So that's what I'd recommend. That's what I bring on my dates. I just think it's quite a nice thing. You just bring anything that makes you feel comfortable. The next submission reads, I'm dating this guy just recently, March 23rd. Yes, that recent. But we've been talking since November. I'm communicating a lot more and I'm no longer being avoidant, but it's like he lusts over me more than he loves me. He's also secretive about his past and I had to find out things through mutual friends. My friends tell me to break up with him, but I feel bad. I know I'll miss our sweet moments. His whole family knows me. He already spent tons on me and I value our friendship over our relationship. It's like he doesn't care much about his future either. He barely cares about his studies and settles for low grades and doesn't care much about going to college either because he just wants to always be near me. I'm not a fan of PDA. I prefer to keep things between just the two of us, but he's the complete opposite. I'm really trying with him, but I don't know what I should do. I think these situations are hard because I found myself in them before, and a lot of the time I already know the answer. It's kind of looking at me directly in the eyes, but I kind of shift my focus somewhere else and I try and find different opinions that almost validate the feelings that I have for the person, which is that I like them and I love them and I want them to stay, but I know deep down that it's not good for me. And I think in your situation, it's really vital that you put yourself first. I don't know if this person is necessarily sounding like the best for you. To be frank, it sounds like you've only, shown me the bad parts of him, but maybe that is just him. I'm sure there are reasons why you do like him, and that's why it's hard to let go of someone like that. But I think it's important to understand in these situations that there is someone else out there. I think there's this kind of idea that there's a deficit of romantic opportunities in your life, and that's why you kind of hold on to these people. And I don't just want to put a number to this person for you to say that, he's just one of many. Because equally, I also understand that this relationship seems to be important to you. It's foundational, it's a friendship, and it seems like you have mutual friends. And that's also something that's really tough to navigate when you have a social circle with this person. And, it's hard to kind of navigate that. However, it does seem like your friends are telling you to break up with him, and the only reason that you're not breaking up with him is because you feel bad. But I think that there's a conversation to be had in stringing someone along just because you feel bad for them. I don't think that's a relationship. I think it's almost just mothering a bit, parenting, just not wanting to make the person feel bad. I don't think it's being honest. And I think a relationship foundationally is based on honesty, and I think it's very important to be upfront and honest. And equally, it's about conversation. It's not black and white. This person might not know that it affects you so much that he doesn't want to put in effort. And maybe if you had a conversation with him and you said, listen, like, I don't know if I can continue this conversation without you having aspirations in your life. Is that something that you see yourself changing? Is that something you see yourself evolving into, is someone that has these aspirations and can see some future for themselves? And if he comes back and he says, no, that's not really my thing right now, I just want to focus on you, I think that's honestly not a great sign. I think it's really important for someone to have their own interests, to have their own hobbies. It's so attractive. I find someone with ambition attractive. I think it's such a sexy quality when someone goes out of their way to get exactly what they want. And frankly, I wouldn't be taking this from a guy. I do understand where you're coming from though. When you've built a relationship with someone, even if it's a friendship, it's hard to let them go and it's hard to let go of those sweet memories. But sometimes for your sake, you have to move on, and you have to let yourself know that there's better out there. Because if you keep allowing someone that isn't good for you to be a consistent character in your life, you're never going to learn that there's better out there for you. And it doesn't even have to be romantically, it can be platonically as well. It's just important for you to kind of navigate that at a younger age as well, to really understand that like this isn't all that there is, and that you can put yourself first in these situations. But I've been in situations like this before where, especially at this age as well, where I've kind of been very convinced that this person is for me. And I don't mean to be demeaning or condescending in any way, but you know, when you're younger is kind of all encompassing. You're going to school with this person and you have friends with this person, and it does feel like it's going to be this person. But as you get older, there is more to life than that person. And it seems like you're kind of on that track anyway. You know, you're thinking about college, you want to really succeed in your life and you have the ambition. And I don't think someone without that is going to lift you up. I think it's really, in truth, going to drag you down. But my advice would be to have a conversation with this person. Conversations and communication in relationships is very sexy and is very needed. So I'd have a conversation with them and just be like, hey, listen, I've noticed that you've been very uninspired at the moment and you lack ambition. And that's something that I have. I have ambition and I'm inspired about my future. Is that something that you see yourself? Are you going to partake in that with me in the future or not? You know, frankly. And if you're not, then we part ways and we'll have those sweet memories and you can remember them because they're memories. It's not in the present. You know, it's different. It's different. If you have sweet memories with someone, it's in the past. What, you're just going to relive the past for the rest of your relationship that's actually really crap right now? Like, no. You want to live in the present and you want to have great memories with that person in the present. If you're constantly relaying these old memories you had with them, is the relationship actually that good or was it that good? And I'm telling myself this because, you know, I look back at memories all the time and I'm like, oh my God, it was perfect. No, it wasn't. You're romanticizing a version of the person that doesn't exist. Get over it. I'm talking to myself, not you. Because I'm going through it right now and I need to like really get myself over it. But that's what I would say to you. The next submission reads, I went through a kind of harsh breakup, woman on woman. We were dating for almost 3 years, but knew each other ever since 2020. Broke up, and ever since I can't move past that. I think I could have been a better partner, and I really could have been. And now I have this kind of feeling that the reason why everything is the way that it is my fault. Any advice on how to move past this and the jealousy when I know that she's probably talking to another person she told me not to worry about while we were dating? Okay, so a couple of things here. How do you deal with being the person that was in the wrong? And how do you deal with not being jealous about them talking to someone new, specifically the person that you shouldn't be worrying about? So being in the wrong is something that, I'm kind of used to. And I've had to really front myself recently, look at myself and acknowledge that I've been in the wrong multiple times. I think, like I mentioned in this episode, I'm pretty new to dating, and I don't use that as an excuse because though I'm new to dating, I am also in my early 20s, and I understand that with that comes a certain sense of maturity that I should have, and that frankly I think I've lacked within dating in the past year. You know, I've done things that have probably made me not be in relationships, and I look back on those situations and I think if I had treated that person better on that day, on that specific date, would we now be in a relationship? And I think it's really hard to kind of hold yourself accountable, but it's what you have to do. But though you're holding yourself accountable, you can't hate yourself for the way that you've treated that person. I think though it's hard, and it probably is hard on that person as well, it is a lesson. And it's hard to admit that, you know, it's really frustrating because I think sometimes you do just want to go back and you want to make it better and you want to, you know, right your wrongs. But I think the truth is we have people that come in and out of our lives to teach us those lessons, even though they are fronting to us. You know, for me, it's been about understanding what I have control of in relationships. And when I don't have control, I kind of lash out in my own ways that aren't with communication. You know, it's me kind of blocking them and moving on and going cold and being somewhat avoidant, I suppose. And I've really had to understand myself recently, and it's been kind of opening for me because I really didn't think that I was someone that was avoidant, or, you know, distant. I thought that I was pretty good at communication, and I don't think that I am. I think now I'm trying to be, and recently I've been on a bit of an apology tour to like people in my past that I think I've wronged, and I've had to kind of go back to them and just be like, I'm really sorry for how I've treated you, because it's not me trying to get back with them or become friends with them again, whatever the case may be. It's me just kind of taking accountability, and letting them know that it's really not how they deserve to be treated. You know, I think I I appreciate those texts when I get them. I haven't got many of them, if any, to be honest, but I know that if I got them from people that have disrespected me, it would mean a lot. And I'm not saying for you to send those texts. I think, especially when it's like a fresh breakup, it's tough and you don't really want to like pour salt in a wound that's meant to be healing. But I think for me, when I've had things that aren't necessarily serious, but I've treated those people maybe badly, I've wanted to let them know how I've felt and how they made me feel. And that's really helped me. It's like being honest. And if you're in a situation where maybe you're still talking to that person, I think honesty is really, though it's vulnerable, it's really powerful. I think it's very powerful to be honest with your emotions. And I think it's endearing. Again, it's not a case of you wanting to get back with this person necessarily, but I think it's important to be emotional and vulnerable with how you feel, because there's beauty in your emotions. And I think that a lot of people are losing that, especially in dating. Dating is really tough right now and it's really hard. And I think people don't really want to show their emotions, especially with the people that I've dated recently. And with myself as well, you know, I'm talking about myself here. It's a lack of understanding our own emotion. And I think that's why we kind of retaliate in ways that we don't necessarily understand and we don't know where that comes from. It's because we don't really understand ourselves in a way. But, you know, I think if you think it's your fault, it's kind of understanding why. It's understanding how it's your fault, where you went wrong, and unraveling why it went wrong. What in the situation made you act that way? And in the future, how can you redeem that quality? How can you overcome that in the future? And it's about being gentle with yourself. I don't want you to be hard on yourself, you know? That's not helping anyone. It's not helping that person because they're not seeing you be hard on yourself and treating yourself badly. And it's definitely not helping you. You've got to be easy on yourself and gentle with yourself and understand that though this is a person, it is also a lesson. And it is a lesson in love and it's a lesson in dating and relationships. On to your next point about overcoming the jealousy and the potential that this person is talking to someone that she told you not to worry about. Overcoming jealousy is very, very tough. And again, I think it is an introspective conversation. It's you understanding maybe what this person that she told you not to worry about has that you don't. And it's just that conversation to have with yourself. And it's uncomfortable because I've had it before where I psychoanalyze like I've gone through it with people from my past, trust. Like, it's embarrassing, the stuff that I have done. Like, you check following lists. Oh my God, so embarrassing. You like go on tagged photos, you see that they're with someone new and you're like, oh my God, who is this person? You overanalyze them. And I think for me, it has just come down to, though it sounds cliche, focusing on yourself. If you're constantly worrying about them moving on with someone new and it's the person that they told you not to worry about, it's like, oh my God, you're spending so much time and effort and energy focusing on a life that isn't yours anymore. And I know that's really hard to come to terms with, but if that person is moving on, especially with the person that they've told you not to worry about, to be honest, at that point, it isn't, you know, it's their life, you know, it's their life now. And it's hard, and it in a lot of ways it's a shitty thing to say that to someone, don't worry about this person, and then getting with them, it feels like an act of betrayal in honesty. Because especially if you've been intimidated by that person in the past and they've got with them, it feels like you let your guard down and you were vulnerable with them, and then they kind of like hurt you in a way. But I think it's important to understand that you have to move on from that person, and whether they get with the person that they told you not to worry about or they don't, knowing that you will be okay, though it sometimes feels like you won't be. And it feels so crushing when that person gets with anyone new, let alone the person that they told you not to worry about, with anyone new. You see them in pictures with anyone, and it's just this kind of overcoming of jealousy and frustration and just wishing that you had one more chance with them. But it's about understanding the reality of the situation, and that frankly you don't, and that they maybe have moved on, and that you really do have to too. And I think this might sound harsh, but it's the truth. Sometimes the advice that you need isn't necessarily the advice that you want. And I'm not the only person that should be giving you advice by any means. And I'm sure, you have friends in your life that understand this situation. But if my friend was coming to me with this, I would kind of tell them to just focus on other things, focus on themselves, focus on work, focus on maybe dating other people yourself, going out there and putting energy back into yourself, rather than exposing those insecurities that you have within yourself and allowing them to kind of be hurt because of someone that your ex is dating now. But it's really tough. And be gentle on yourself, truly, because a breakup is hard. And I'm sending you so much love, because that sounds really tough. The next submission reads, I need to know your opinion on the dating scene right now. I feel totally hopeless. I want to be in love. I want someone to want me the way that I want them, but nothing feels within reach. Am I alone? In brackets, please say I'm not. I would have to agree with this. I think the dating scene right now is it's really hard. Honestly, I've really struggled with finding hope in dating recently. I've had a few experiences where I've been ghosted and disregarded recently that just makes you feel so worthless, and more so just makes you not see the point in it. I just don't see the point in dating at the moment, is my honest answer, because it just feels like a waste of my time. And I really hate to say that, because there are times that I do love dating. I love going out for a beer with a guy and kind of kissing in a pub garden. And there's that, there's the fantasy of it. I love a little date here and there. But with the people that I've really wanted it to work out with, I've just felt a bit disrespected. And I always come to this end, and I'm sitting on my bed and I'm thinking, I spent so much time and energy on you, and you didn't even have the decency to just end it. You didn't have the decency to give me a text. A text? Are you mad? Like, instead of just texting me, telling me how you felt, you thought it would be better for both of us if you just ghosted me and left me to kind of unravel the situation. And I just think that there's a lack of respect in dating now, because I think specifically with the people that I've dated, I've found that there's possibly this idea of there's always someone else. There's always someone else to date. I think the dating apps kind of give you this idea that there's always going to be someone else, but it doesn't account for the people that you're on the date with. It's like, well, wait a minute. I'm here. I'm in front of you. I've made the effort. That's what frustrates me the most, is that I'm dating men at the moment. So when I'm going on a date with a man, I'm layering my perfumes. I have body lotion on. I've thought about my outfit. I'm doing my hair, maybe doing my hair the night before so that it sits correctly the next day. I'm doing my makeup. I'm showing up to these dates, and sometimes these men are literally showing up and they're like, oh, I just had a shower 15 minutes ago. And you walk away and you're like, oh my God, I put in all of this effort, and for what? And then maybe the guy does put in the effort and he does everything that he's meant to do. He takes you out for dinner, he wines and dines you, everything seems to be going perfect. And then all of a sudden it just stops. And I've got to a point now where I've kind of had like every situation of dating and it's all ended badly. And I think that's why I'm at this point now where I'm just like, girl, what else is there to learn? You know? And I think the next thing that I do learn is love. And that's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is, I feel as though I've been through all of these experiences now, and I've been ghosted, I've been disrespected, I've been left at train stations after asking what we are, and he runs down the tube station to get on the train and ignore the question. Right. I've been in these, I've been in these situations. So I think the next logical step, universe, is to fall in love. And I do believe that's coming for me, and I see it happening for other people, and I know that it's going to happen. And I think, right now, it seems as though I'm being a bit positive. But sometimes I do sit back and I watch another person get engaged on my timeline, or another person start to soft launch a partner on their timeline. And I do just think like, okay, well, when is it my turn? But caveat to that, the other day someone was soft launching on my timeline, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to be single for... Wait, I don't care. Like, I literally had to kind of sit with myself and think, I don't want a boyfriend right now. I'm going through a tough time in my life. I don't think I could be consistent enough for a boyfriend. I don't think I could do it justice. When I go into dating with intention. I'm not dating casually. I don't really understand the concept of casual dating, to be totally frank with you. I don't get it. Because in my mind, casually dating means just having sex. That's what casually dating means to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but if it's casually dating and you're going on actual dates, what's the point? Like, I don't want to sound cynical, but baby, where's the road leading? Like, are you both just dating until you find someone that you actually want to date? Because if you're just dating casually, you're going to like a cinema date, and then you're going to a dinner date, and then you're going to the pub. What are we doing? I don't really understand the concept of casual dating. If it's, first date, you meet for a beer, and then you go back to their place and you have sex, and then the protocol is anytime you go on a quote date, it's going over to their house or your house respectively, and you're having sex. That to me makes more sense. It's like, oh, okay, it's no strings attached. But if you're casually dating someone and you're going out, on actual dates, I don't get it, because people have ended things with me and they're like, oh, I'm not looking for anything serious right now. I'm looking for something more casual. I'm just like, right. So was that casual? Like, now I'm confused because now you got me looking a fool. What the fuck? You had me out for dinner with you. You had me introduced to your friends, your family. And now you're telling me, oh no, I just want something casual. And you can change your mind, of course, but back a week ago, was that you being casual? I don't get it. And sure, like I said, it's changing the mind. Maybe they, got to know you a bit more and they just don't think that you're well suited. More than fine. But that's not really my question. My question is, to the people that are casually dating, what does that look like for you? What does a casual date look like? God knows if I was casually dating someone, I would just want everything. Like, everything paid for. I would be sending them, I'd be wanting my train ticket reimbursed. Casually dating some girl, humiliation ritual for me personally. Unless that's what you're into. And I know that there are plenty of people, specifically I know a couple of people, my friends, that are into the casually dating experience. I don't get it though. Casually dating one person at a time, I understand. But one person for a prolonged amount of time, you're dating. Don't piss me off. Ooh. But yeah, I think dating for now, for me, just seems a little bit pointless, but maybe it's just maybe that's just like the frame of mind that I'm in personally. I do think the next step for me is kind of to really be in love and to be in a relationship. It's kind of what I've always been working towards when I've been dating someone, but I've been through the motions of like, dating someone for 3 months and them making me feel like, them saying to me, I'm going to make you my girlfriend, and then us to be making out and then randomly just be like, no, actually I want something casual. That's happened multiple times with me. And it's just, stories to tell. And one day you'll meet the love of your life. And, you know, oh God, I can't even act like I'm being inspirational. I don't know. The dating scene is tough, dude. I don't know what to tell you. It's the trenches, it's the pits, but there will be someone out there. Um, yeah, I don't know. I can't even act like I'm being ambitious about dating right now because I'm really not. To conclude that submission, you truly are not alone. All my friends are feeling the same way. I feel like everyone's kind of going through it at the moment with dating. I think there will be a renaissance with dating sometime soon because by that I mean just like this, the way that men are behaving is so disrespectful, and I'm really starting to hold them accountable. These men, I'm letting them know how they're making me feel, and maybe it makes them uncomfortable, but I'm going to let them know, and hopefully it will make them treat the person that they're dating in the future better. The final submission of this episode reads, I recently had sex with someone that I was dating on a pretty regular basis. After we had sex for the first time, I felt an energy shift. After I left his apartment, I didn't hear much from him, and now we aren't really talking, and I think he wants me to take the hint and move on. This, much like my last point, is why I feel hopeless in dating. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. Truly, I think that sex is such a vulnerable thing. To have a moment like that be tarnished by someone not respecting you afterwards is unspeakable. I just think it's so disrespectful when you have any type of intimate moment with someone, specifically sex or sleeping in the same bed as someone, and then all of a sudden they just leave and they don't say anything. I think there's a real cowardness that that person has, and honestly evilness to them. Like really, I these people that do this know what they're doing, and I just don't think there's any excuse for treating someone this way, especially when you're being so vulnerable and intimate with someone. It's really dangerous to your mental health and to your self-worth if someone uses you that way. And I really, first of all, want you to know that this doesn't diminish who you are, and it doesn't change who you are. You're the same person you were before and after you had sex with this person. I think that it's really tough to go through something like this. I had something similar happen to me recently where, yeah, it was a very similar experience. And I just found it kind of, I just didn't believe it. I couldn't believe that someone would treat you that way and they'd be so heartless about it and they would be so emotionless about it, especially if this is someone that you're dating on a pretty regular basis. You've built up a relationship with them, and frankly, you've built up trust with that person. And the fact that they have gone against the trust that you've built is so despicable and disgusting. And I don't want anyone to think that this is normal behavior. It's not, especially when it is something like sex, when you have to be so open and trusting of someone. To be that and to be treated like that afterwards, I can only apologize on behalf of that person. And I want you to know that it doesn't change who you are, and that I'm sure there are probably going to be guards that you put up in the future, because I know that when I had that happen to me as well, a similar situation, it ruined dating for me for a second. Like, it completely changed the way I saw dating and the way I saw trust and the way I interacted with men. You know, it really did. I started to just view them as a entity. It wasn't like singular with them. It was kind of, okay, well, that's just what they want. They just want sex and they'll move on after they get it, and they're not going to respect me. And it ruins your self-image and also the image of all of, you know, the men that you've dated in your past, and frankly, some of the men that maybe you'll date in your future. But it is important to understand that that is a singular experience with that person. And it's more than valid for you to raise your guards with dating. But it's really important to know that it's a singular experience you've had with that person, and that there will be other people that will respect you and that you can trust. But with this person, it's just good that it's done and that they're out of your life, to be totally frank with you. And though it feels hard to not have an explanation to the ending, I think what I did in my situation was I kind of just put all of the energy back into myself. And I know that sounds really cliche and redundant. I feel like a lot of people say that, but it really does work and it helps, because you start to kind of use a lot of your energy as to why. You try and find a reason as to why they did that. You know, you think like, did I perform badly? Was I bad at sex? Did he not enjoy it? Did I do something? You know, there's so many questions that go on in your head. And I think someone that's honest and trustworthy would just let you know if anything bad happened. I think a lot of the time it's just because they got what they wanted, to be totally frank with you. And you know, I put that energy into myself, and then a couple months later I just got back in touch with him and I said, how you treated me was so disrespectful, and I need you to know that. I need you to not treat anyone like that, because it was tough for me. And it wasn't me trying to get something out of him. I wasn't trying to make him feel bad. I wanted him to just know how it made me feel, which was bad. It's important to hold these people accountable, because they do tend to repeat action until it is held up to them that they've treated someone badly. But that's all the advice that I'm going to be giving out in this session. I hope that you can take something from it, and I hope that you know that my opinion and my advice is not the only opinion and advice, and that if anything, it's really important to just go to your friends. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Now let's get on to the recommendation of the week. The recommendation of the week this week is Hit the Wall by Gracie Abrams. I really love this song. It's been on repeat. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode and this advice session. If you have, please make sure to rate the episode and review the episode. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram and on TikTok at selfinterruptedpod. You can follow me personally at kit.costello on Instagram and on TikTok. But other than that, I'm sending you so much love. As always, Kit.